From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Friday, July the 26th, 2019. Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas said yesterday that the PA would stop implementing its agreements with Israel, claiming Israel has negated its obligations. This after the demolition earlier this week of several Palestinian buildings that were built illegally and Israel says too close to the security barrier. Abbas said at a press conference yesterday, from Friday onward, we will begin concrete steps against Israel and sever all ties with Israel. Also reportedly reaching out to terror group Hamas to convey the announcement, thought to be an effort by Abbas to reconcile with the terror group, which has been in conflict with the PA's Fatah party for years. And Reuters reports that the U.S. blocked an attempt to condemn Israel for the demolitions. A draft statement was passed around to the UN Security Council on Tuesday by Kuwait, Indonesia, and South Africa, stating that the demolition undermines peace efforts and a two-state solution. The United States rejected the statement, and since such condemnations require agreement by all 15 members of the Council, it did not go through. And staying with the UN Watch organization reported that Israel was the only country in the world accused of violations of women's rights and human rights. A resolution claiming that the Israeli occupation remains a major obstacle for Palestinian women and girls with regard to the fulfillment of their rights. It was adopted by the UN Economic and Social Council on Wednesday in a vote of 40-2 with 9 abstentions. Only Canada and the U.S. voted against it. Executive Director of UN Watch, Hillel Neuer, said it was ridiculous that nothing was said about countries like Saudi Arabia over, for example, jailing and torturing women's rights activists. He said when you have Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Yemen among the UN Council members accusing Israel of violating women's rights, you are in the theater of the absurd. And former U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, wrote, "It is a total mockery of human rights to allow Saudi Arabia, Iran, Pakistan, and Yemen to name Israel as the world's only violator of women's rights." Civil rights leader and Georgia Democrat Congressman John Lewis released a statement yesterday clarifying that while he co-sponsored Resolution 496 earlier this month with fellow members of Congress Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib defending the right of Americans to boycott, he was against the boycott movement against Israel. And that is why he signed the anti-BDS Resolution 246, which overwhelmingly passed in the House on Tuesday. 496 does not name Israel or BDS, but was understood as a countermeasure to the anti-BDS 246. Lewis said he supported 496 because of his ongoing commitment for the First Amendment right to protest through nonviolent actions. However, he stressed, as a longtime friend of Israel, I want to make it very clear that I disagree strongly with the BDS movement. He said economic, educational, and cultural interaction with Israel, America's democratic ally, is not only in the best interest of Israelis and Americans, but it improves the climate for peace with Palestinians, which is in everyone's interest to encourage. That is why, he wrote, he was proud to be part of the bipartisan majority that passed 246 this week. The American Jewish Committee thanked Lewis. They tweeted, "For your denunciation of the anti-Israel BDS campaign and your strong support for the U.S.-Israel alliance." CEO of the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Greenblatt, thanked Lewis for standing up against BDS and anti-Semitism and those who instigate intolerance, he wrote, and for always defending the dignity of all people. And also of note, another co-sponsor of 496, Massachusetts Democrat Ayanna Presley, also voted against BDS on Tuesday, breaking with her so-called squad representatives Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, and Rashida Tlaib, who voted against it. Presley tweeted that she did not believe that Resolution 246 infringed on First Amendment rights, and that what I heard resounding in community was that voting yes on this resolution affirmed to my constituents raised in the Jewish faith Israel's right to exist. a view I share as a supporter of a two-state solution. The Jerusalem Film Festival opened last night. Israel's President Reuven Rivlin spoke at the event and announced a new cinema award that will honor his late wife, Nechama, who died earlier this year and was a great supporter of art and culture. The prize will be awarded by the Jerusalem Foundation to promising new Israeli filmmakers. And New Jersey rockers Bon Jovi took to the stage in Tel Aviv last night, part of its This House Is Not For Sale tour, which brought over 45,000 fans to Yarkon Park. Bon Jovi was last in Israel in 2015. The band has faced ongoing pressure by the BDS campaign not to play in Israel. But keyboard player David Bryan told the Jerusalem Post just before going on for the show, "We don't get into politics. Rock and roll goes everywhere and helps people forget about the world and have a good time. It doesn't divide, and that's what we're talking about, unification, not dividing." Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Friday, July the 26th. Shabbat services are coming up at 7 o'clock from the Hampton Synagogue, followed by services from Central Synagogue. Then at 9, it's the film The Law, telling of Holocaust survivor and women's rights champion Simone Weil. At 10:30, it's Musica with Ravid Kahalani. And coming up right after this newscast, Shai Held talks about the meaning of love your neighbor. And then Rabbi Shlomo Riskin looks at this week's Torah portion. And that's the JBS News Update for Friday, July the 26th, 2019. I'm Teisha Bader. Shabbat Shalom.